Falcon and the Winter Soldier is set to follow up the critically acclaimed WandaVision. So what should we expect? Hello everyone and welcome to my secret base. My name is Esther and in today's video I will go over what to expect from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Before we begin, please take a few seconds to like, subscribe, and to turn on those notifications. Alright, let's go! The Sokovia Accords were put into place during the events of Civil War and ended up splitting up the Avengers, just like the Beatles. However, it seems like they were largely forgotten during the events of Endgame and in Spider-Man Far From Home. Since this show looks to focus more on government affairs and such, we're likely to see them mention the Accords and what happened to them in the time between the blip and now. Sometime last year, some set pictures revealed the flag of Madripoor. In the comics, Madripoor is the set of many Wolverine stories, and while I don't expect to see Wolverine in this show just yet, or just show up just yet, I do expect some mutants to show up, but in a small capacity. This show will likely serve as a slow intro to mutant kind. Maybe their mission will relate to these individuals. This isn't very likely, but I still think there's a small chance that they could do it here. That or they would just set some big things in stone for when they are introduced. At the end of Far From Home, we saw Nick Fury in space. Everyone wondered if that was a sword facility, and we had the confirmation during WandaVision. I think this show will probably shine some light into the origins of S.W.O.R.D. in the MCU and for how long our heroes have known about the organization. This is pretty obvious, but we'll finally know the origins of the US agent in the MCU. While a lot of people think that the US agent came to be after the death of Captain America, I think he came before that. I believe that US agent origins will date back to Civil War, in the time where Captain America was considered a war criminal. He was probably supposed to replace Captain right after, but he was probably not ready until after the events of Infinity War. A lot of people also seem to think that US Agent is a bad guy, and I think this show will probably have him be more of a rival rather than a bad guy, with the conflict being that our heroes are trying to solve whatever mission before he does. MODOK is one of the best Marvel villains there are, and while there has been subtle hints about him, with Armin Zola having a plan for the suit, we are yet to see the supervillain pop up in the MCU. This show's villain is probably not MODOK, but we could get a few Easter eggs about the villain for the future. In Endgame, we skipped very quickly from the final battle to Tony's funeral, and while I don't think much happened after the battle was over, I do think that we will probably revisit some of the events that happened right after the battle. Perhaps we get to see the newest Avengers headquarters as, well, after Thanos destroyed the old one, a new one surely was built. While WandaVision will not have a direct connection to this show, the aftermath of the events of WandaVision will likely have an effect on this show as well. Events that could be referenced are the arrest of Hayward, Monica's new powers, Jimmy Woo, and the whereabouts of Wanda and the new Vision, or old Vision, whatever that white Vision was and became after that. That is, if this show is set after WandaVision. But considering that WandaVision is just set a few weeks after Endgame, it could very well be. They could even reference Monica now being in space with either Talos or Nick Fury. It looks like a good part of the show will be set in Asia, and I could see this show being a semi-precursor to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. In part, I think that we will see the 10 rings in some capacity during the show, either in a cameo or as an actual antagonist in an episode or two. I could even see them using the final mid or end credit scenes to tease Shang-Chi. But back to the 10 rings. They could be used in the same capacity as we saw them used in Ant-Man, probably as a client to whoever the big bad of this show is. But I still believe that the 10 rings will pop up in some type of way during this show. Zemo is one of the best villains in the MCU, and also one of the most successful ones. He is going to play an integral role in this show, and I can't wait to find out what it is. It looks like he's going to be the main antagonist, but could they be throwing us off and actually he isn't the bad guy at all? Could this show be a small arc of redemption for Zemo? In the MCU, he only sought out the Avengers to avenge his family's death. Perhaps in the aftermath of the blip, he started seeing everything through a different lens and escaped prison in order to redeem himself. And then maybe not. And he's just used that time to gain more power in the underworld and cause more mayhem, which is the most likely thing to happen. But I could dream on. Well, that is all for this week. What do you think will happen in the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Do you think Zemo will be the main bad guy? Let me know in the comments below. And before you go and click on the video on the screen right now, I want to announce that I'm going to start having merch soon. I know the channel is extremely small, but I like to get ahead of things. Lastly, like me on Facebook, link is in the description. See ya!